What's going on, everybody? So we're finally jumping on the bandwagon. We're going to be covering P-Valley. Now, too much of our reserve. Everybody on our team, one way or another, is going to jump on the reviews at some point down the line. But much to our point, that we wanted to just make sure that this show was definitely going to have some longevity to it. So once we got the heads up that they were going to have a season 2, which was announced last week, which P-Valley's been doing really good as far as the viewerships, it's breaking some numbers actually for the Starz app. We said, okay, cool. Let's get on this. Let's talk about it. Although we've been internally chatting about it in our chats, we finally said, fine, let's go ahead and do the video recording. And then to my idiocy, I thought this was a mid-season point because I thought it was 10 episodes. Kind of find out it's only 8. So mid-season was actually episode 4. But none of that. We're here for episode 5. We'll catch up until up until this point. But nonetheless, yes, from 5 on out, we'll continue to cover the rest of the episodes. And we already got season 2 to look forward to. But anyway, as you see, I'm not by myself. B is here. The rest of the crew will be joining at some point down the line on each episode review. But nonetheless, yes, let's definitely talk about it. But before we actually talk about episode 5, which is Belly, I kind of want to talk about like our mental points into being invested into this show, because obviously right now the pandemic, there's not a lot of different things to choose from, but there are some good new series that are debuting. And at this point now, if it's not really a big trendy thing, or if it had like a lot of publicity, because I feel like this one didn't have a lot of publicity behind. I could be wrong. But I was again a little bit reserved going into it. Watched the first episode. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." The entertainment factor was there. I had to kind of feel for the acting a little bit. I had to kind of feel for what the plot wanted to do, because the first episode, which most times are just pilots, did what it has to do. All it has to do is just get the viewers to want more. And so to that point, I was like, "All right, I think I can deal with this." There was definitely some things I was just like, that's not going to work. But nonetheless, 5 episodes in, I'm like, hey, this is a pretty dope series. I'm already excited for season 2. Definitely have some favorites in this series already. Definitely some really notable things. And I think right now, episode 5 and all is not the mid-season. It felt like a mid-season episode, because I felt like right now was probably the best written episode thus far. Like, it really took some of the loose ends from before, some of the like factors I guess wasn't built on anything, and kind of making them into anything. But you watched it 3 times. I watched it once. I know you but yeah, before we get into it, yeah, what kind of drew you to this, and like overall, what's your thoughts going into it 5 episodes in?
Oddly enough, people are actually surprised that I actually do love the strip club. Like, I love my 26. Was I 26? Yeah. My 26th birthday party was at Stadium. Like, had a table, dropped 160 on Fat Rabbit and Diamond, and it was another one in Miami, of course. I love Miami Mail. Shout out to them. But I actually love the strip club, number 1. Number 2, I found it interesting because you've never seen that type of show. You've seen shows where they include a little bit of that lifestyle in it, but you've never seen a show
about the business.
Yeah, you've never seen a show about the groundbreaking backstory of it. Like, of course, we have the Players Club, but the Players Club is over 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's not dealing with it now. And the fact that one of the things I do like about the show is that it has the concept of social media involved in it, but it also shows what they are trying to do outside, what's going on with them outside of just, being in the club. Excuse me, Jesus. And it's not just with the dancers, it's also with, Uncle Clifford. And It is that is a good word I'm gonna use for tonight. Interesting. It is definitely interesting because they are some characters
Yeah.
in this show. And I think that's what keeps me coming back to it because I want to see the development and I want to see like, oh shit, like what's about to happen because you never know.
Yeah, I think the first thing to me that stuck out too is like, you know, like you said, in true fashion, it's a strip club show. Talk about the business, the workers, so the characters as far as inside the club, outside the club, ramifications of the city around them. But when I went into it, first thing I think is like it's a strip club show. Well, where is this based at? This ain't Miami. This isn't
Hell
Florida.
no.
It's in Florida at all. It's like, is it New Orleans? No, it's definitely not Atlanta. That was like, this ain't Houston. But I was like, Mississippi. So one, I don't think I've ever been to Mississippi. And two, I've never heard of anybody ever say that they need to go to Mississippi for the strip club scene. And that's the thing, if anybody listening not sure, yes, people do go to certain cities
just for their strip clubs.
Exactly. So I never heard of Mississippi ever on the tip of anybody's tongue saying this is a place to go. So there was that intriguing factor here. Like, oh, there's this mystique of a city I'm not familiar with, but a business that thrives in a city I'm not familiar with, and then the way they're doing it. I think the show really puts together really good visuals. First of all, beyond just acting, there's some really talented women on this show.
Listen. Make me want to do a sit up every time I watch it.
and I'll say to my ignorance, if it's truly the people who are the actresses that are doing it, then kudos to them. And if it's the people that are filling in as stunt doubles or whatever you want to call it, kudos to them. No matter what, there's some talented people that's doing the work.
The physicality of it all. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So there's an appreciation for that. And then I think, like I said, there's enough intrigue about the unknown, about the city and the business thriving in the city. And then again, it ain't just about the dancing in this show or the nudity. It's really about the business and people's personal lives and how that intertwine in it. And I think it thus far for 5 episodes, it definitely has been entertaining. Social media is talking about it. Even people who do not like the show, they're still talking about it, and that's all that matters. And again, the proof is in the pudding, which like I said, statistically, if you look it up, it's done groundbreaking numbers on the Starz app. We're talking about Starz, who hosts a plethora of other successful shows, including Power. So that got to tell you that, and again, for it to be 4 episodes in at the time, they already got renewed for season 2. And really,
actually, they was only 3 episodes in when they got renewed for season 2.
Okay. And just to put that into perspective, Power wasn't even getting their renewals that quick because, I can talk about it so much more, but like, yeah, even Power, as successful as it was coming down to the cutting board of like, are we going next season? And they're like, I don't know. Yeah. And 50 and all that, and then it happened. But like, so that just really tells you, like, if you're not watching this show, it's definitely worth
you under a rock.
Yeah. Anyway, so before we again get into episode 5, favorite characters thus far. Who just each and every episode just is this always a person to keep an eye out for you?
You know what? I said this from episode 1, and it's surprising to some people. They're just now getting on the train, but I love Mercedes.
Okay.
I absolutely love Mercedes, and I love her because she's not as cold-hearted as a lot of people think she is. I think she has to be tough because of everything that she's been through, which we know a lot of. We just get bits and pieces when it comes to the dynamic between her and her mother, as well as her relationship with Uncle Clifford. Because of all that she's been through, she's had to build this tough exterior so that people don't find her vulnerable and prey on that. But I think she really is a sweetheart when it all is said and done. She's my favorite, of course. Uncle Clifford. Uncle Clifford is a true character. I've never known an Uncle Clifford growing up. I don't know too many Uncle Cliffords, even as a grown man. But Uncle Clifford is hilarious. The same on that show I've adopted so many things from that show that I cannot wait until we could actually go outside and play for real, so I can really use them because I've started just a little bit. But so Mercedes, Uncle Clifford, I actually really do love Little Murda. Is something about that foolish young man I love. I like Gidget.
I was just thinking that today too. It's been
I
a
like
lot of
Gidget. She's growing on me.
A lot of mystique. I'll say this before you name every character.
No, I'm done because there's not really too many I like.
Something that never really happens in the series happened this episode, and that's introducing a sub character and giving them a major role or a major screen presence. That's Lauren, the one who went and spent all her money in the strip club, wakes up in the strip club, gets arrested. What a character she was. She's not a major character, but
she ain't a character.
She's not a character, but Lauren was super entertaining, emotional, and I was like, really? The moment they showed her with Mississippi, and she was crying, I was like, oh, that's the end of her, and I was like, oh wait, more. And then again, I've never seen a show do something like that. Usually a person is a one, especially in that.
One and done.
Yeah, like get your 5-10 minutes of fame and roll out. Mm-hmm. So at this moment now, I'm saying I need more Lauren because she was just hilarious.
I was just like, she just pops up and says things at the oddest times. Yeah. In this episode, but it was needed.
Yeah,
especially when she started singing.
Lost all her money, got her alimony, spent it all. She said she's gonna spend half. That didn't happen. Then gets arrested. So she had one night, one of the nights.
One night only. Yeah. Who are your favorites though?
I would be curious to know who that character was really like. What was really,
with?
Yeah, like who in the writer's room said, I want to share a story about something in my personal life and make that a character?
Because there's a story behind why that presence was there so much.
Yeah, absolutely. For my favorite characters though, I think for starters, Uncle Clifford, just the whole dynamic of that character is so he literally moves each episode in so many different ways. I mean, when you have a lead, you want your lead to be strong and versatile, and as much screen time as leads should carry and demand, you don't get tired of them. And I feel like every time I see Uncle Clifford, it brings a different aspect to him. Whether it's just the straight comedic side, I mean, his one-liners, the clapbacks are all A1. But when it actually comes down to just showing a business owner, take everything else away from him, take the fashion, take how flamboyant he is, just take all that away. When it comes down to just the business-centric side, he gets it to the point that it's vulnerable because you see how people can get in over their head and really got to shuffle, personal things with business things. The idea of wanting to help Mercedes and put himself last, but realizing, so I really appreciate that, entirety as a character. And then Mercedes' mom.
I hate that woman.
I love me a good bad guy.
I hate them. And she deserved that ass whooping.
God, both times makes my skin crawl every scene because it's so triggering, that character. But I love it because that's what characters should do. When you're a bad person, bad guy, bad woman, you're supposed to make your viewers hate you. And it's not one time I'm even slightly remorseful for her, even in the jail cell of episode 5 right now. And I was like, oh, Mercedes, don't fall for it. And she said she did too. I was like, see, That's that right there. That's what I'm talking about. That's how I felt. Like you did what you did. You did your dirt. You made your bed. You're laying it now. So that's where I'm at with that. So yeah, those are my two favorite characters right now. I know we haven't mentioned Autumn. I
don't like her.
I'm my eyes are on Autumn because I have my thoughts about this character, but I think Autumn embodies a new character on a new show in its entirety. Like I don't know how I feel about the show. I don't know how I feel about this character. I know the character's there, but like does the character truly draw me to the show? And the answer is no. But Uncle Clifford does. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, when you want to lead like Uncle Clifford. But Autumn just is like she's there. I know she's feeling some shoes about something. And I know the show is really much premised around how she ended up in Mississippi. I think we got a little bit of clarification where she may have came from, but it just doesn't draw me enough to say I can't wait to see what happens with Autumn next. I'm just kind of like, okay, we'll just see what happens, and if nothing,
she on her city girl scammer type shit.
Oh yeah. nothing I want to talk about on the show right now.
Not at all.
She's scheming to which is really relevant to the day and age right now. So.
Hello, but it is about to catch up with her.
Yeah, in fact. So anyway, episode 5. Let's get down to it. Now, I know you said you peeped a lot of things that people may have slept on or overlooked. So I'm going to hand it over to you, kind of narrate some of the things you picked up on, some of the really big plot points that you want to talk about. I have a few in my mind as well. I'll just throw a couple of out there. I mean, we got to finally see Derek, who is a Keyshawn / Mississippi boy.
Yeah.
So we got to see who kind of been giving her the blues and who's just been dropping off the baby. We got a face to this person now.
And a black eye.
And a black eye. We see Autumn, who seems to be on the other end of those transactions, but also seems to not just be so far like we thought.
Yeah, hello.
And Autumn clearly got swept in from some major storm. First thought to me was New Orleans, but I could be dangerously wrong.
It was the hurricanes in Houston.
It looks like it's Houston. Yeah, they didn't say so until now. I mean, first episodes talked about FEMA.
You're right.
Yeah, FEMA. Even though FEMA does all storm recovery, FEMA is most synonymous with their lack of efforts in New Orleans, and that's just an easy storyline to kind of go up on. But they went with Houston, so I'm cool with
George Bush does not like black people.
Yeah.
That will always go down history. It's synonymous to FEMA. I'm just saying.
And then a lot of other little things happen. A lot of friendships that was in peril. Looks like they have some type of rekindling going on. I mean, Autumn and Mercedes and Uncle Clifford. What's her name? The one girl I was about to try to bail her out initially. Gidget and Mercedes. Gidget and Autumn actually talking. Mercedes, Mississippi and her glow up. Get all them followers and likes of the social media. So that's just the little bit of things that people are on. But yes, over to you now. Tell me the things you picked up on.
So here's my thing that I picked up on. As much as I'm gonna start with the parts that I don't like so much, which is, of course, Patrice Woodbine. I just cannot stand that one. I'm gonna say it, and it's a little deep seated only because I came up in a church, so I know what these church folk hustlers are like. And I know how people in the church would use God to get things out of you, but that's a whole different episode.
Hey, just to keep it 100, it's a lot of the reasons why people are reserved about the church in the first place. And she is truly embodying that stereotype, fear, and slander to the utmost. So
it 1000%. But here's the thing that I didn't like. As much as Patrice hammered down and pushed on the act of forgiveness and Mercedes to forgive her for all that she's done to her, she's not willing to number one, acknowledge that if it wasn't for all that Mercedes has done, she never would have had the money that she stole from Mercedes to even get to where she's trying to go. And as much as she wants to be forgiven for her past transgressions, she and wants Mercedes to, you know what I'm saying, be uplifting of what she's trying to do for her future. She doesn't give Mercedes not one bit of credit that she too can change over a new leaf and have a better life for herself and for her daughter that she's busting her ass to do so much for. And that is important. You know what I'm saying? When you speak of forgiveness, it's not supposed to be for the other person, it's supposed to be for you. But at the same time, you can't be contradicting and saying you can only get your good graces in my eyes if you do what I want you to do.
Oh,
it don't work like that.
Yeah,
it just don't work like that.
Yeah, there's levels of mass manipulators, and then there's her.
She is over.
Yeah,
she's over the top, and that's one reason why I really don't fool with her.
Yeah.
Now this Derek guy, I don't know if I'm tripping, but for some reason I thought he might have been like related, and I still do think he might be related to the Kyle brothers for some reason. I don't know. I just have an inkling that he has some type of connection to them. Mayor Ruffin.
Okay.
There is some type of ties that he has amongst the community as well as with some dealings within the sheriff, because within the police department, because no sooner is it mentioned to the developers of the casino about Uncle Clifford knowing about the development and what the property is worth, that 14-day auction notice gets put on the door. And it's like, understandably, you can make all this happen because you are the mayor. But what inside track do you have to make sure all of this is, keep going and going and going? I'm very curious to know how that's going to go. Now, it's not something so much as most people would not have peeped. It's more so what people may not have expected. And that is the turnaround to the relationship between Uncle Clifford and Lil Murda developing. We've seen in television and in real life, well, I've seen it, your undercover deal guys that deal with gays, especially those that are highly flamboyant. And it's always a hushed backdoor secret type of thing. But in this episode, what I love so much is Lil Murda not wanting to just be a secret. Like, he actually wants to take Clifford out. I think he's struggling with his manhood being questioned, because being in that environment, most men are looked at like punks. Like his homeboy try to play him in episode 4.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you everybody's punk. And that's when he got chin checked too. But with the fact that you actually see it being reversed, with is him coming to Uncle Clifford, usually you would see the opposite. So I'm very intrigued on how that's going to happen. Autumn and Mercedes' relationship, I knew they were going to somehow develop some kinship. Keyshawn, she's just a get-wit. She's just... I just want to shake her and be like, grow some common sense and get off of social media. And Gidget's just getting in where she fit in. That's
yeah. There's definitely been nothing with Gidget yet, but we got a glimpse of her at home a little. So and we got more of a decision making tactic with her, a rationality, should I say? So I think there's more to come with that. But yeah, to the Uncle Clifford and Lil Murda thing, I think what was important about that is it shows how, again, Uncle Clifford is just he's a business owner for a reason. So what, he has the 14-day notice. He's head over his heel on things, but he's trying to work it out in true business fashion. He didn't just throw his hands up. it is what it is. And he's going right to the source on all these things. You know what I mean? They're in a small
That's
town.
one thing I love about it.
Yeah. But I do like the idea that is pleasing and as maybe pleasuring the idea is to be with Lil Murda. He's still very, very cautious about his surroundings. And that's
very much so.
It's important because, again, I'm not from Mississippi, but I know Mississippi's in the South. And I know there's two things that down South don't like. One is black people, and two is LGBT community. So he's
but you don't have to be out there. You don't even have to be in the South for that. You could same thing could be happening in the Southeast, and he could hit them the same way with it. You know what I'm saying?
100%. But I like the idea of it just bringing a consciousness to the viewers.
How he broke it down.
Right. This show definitely has storytelling, and it has entertainment, and it has it has comedy. But the proof is in the pudding. There was nothing to joke about that. And Uncle Clifford was like, this sounds good and all, but these are some real things that happen from character to character, but also from character to viewer. Like, hey, these things happen out here. You know what I mean? So you can be rooting for us, whatever it may be.
But this is the likely chance of it actually happening.
Right, because if the show still wants to kind of follow suit in its narrative of being really lighthearted, but still kind of very business-centric as to what the ramifications of the stuff in the city. We're talking about gentrification, possibly, who knows? Whatever it may be, you still got to have some, like, realistic factors into it. And I think that I thought as little as insignificant they may have been to some people, it was huge to me.
It's major.
These are some real things. And I think we're going to get more factors of that sort, not just with them dating, but just with anything. I can see that ultimately being problematic with Uncle Clifford being the owner in this. And like new property being built. I can see that could be an issue. And believe it or not, his cop friend, I feel like that's also one of those type of things where he's just like, it's good when it's good in the dark, when the money's being exchanged in. But when we're here, it's like, I can't help you,
because now I got to show everybody else that's against you that I'm standing with you, and I can't
jeopardize. And then even
these are people that's paying me my money.
And even the mayor went from buddy with Uncle Clifford at the car wash to
there was always something behind that.
Yeah, but it felt political and friend. Like, we got stuff on each other, and I see you see me in that fashion. But I felt like in this episode, he kind of went the name calling and slander. I kind of feel like, all right, he's getting a little bit dirty now with this. So that's why I'm kind of see where those two really how they work out going along, because now Uncle Clifford's doing his due diligence and saying, I need to figure out what's happening with the property, with this 14-day notice, this whole bidding and all that other stuff. And now you just kind of leaving me in the dark. And now you kind of like, well, how did this she-man thing get this stuff?
But it's a power play, though.
Oh, 100%.
It's a power play. And see, the way when you mentioned about the slanderous comments that he made, see, the mayor threw that in because he knows how the people of the town are, because they are in a small rural area. However, although he might not be looked at as the ideal citizen that people will gravitate to, he still has facts and he has receipts.
Yeah.
And when he pulled those out and he was pretty much pulling his card, it was like, play with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when you're, and it's not just because of the type of personality that Uncle Clifford possesses. And I take this as an educational tool as well for small businesses that may watch this show. You've got to know what your business, with the property, with everything is based on that you are encompassing, because you got to know when you're being railroaded, when you're getting the short end of the stick, and you got to know how to make those powerful plays and who to play them against. And the fact that he went straight to him, and it wasn't like he went to the mayor in his office. excuse me, he went to somewhere where the mayor felt like he was at home, his comfort zone, and he interrupted his comfort by pulling that car.
Good point.
And now people probably will be looking like, what the fuck they over there all hush hush about? You know what I'm saying? Going forward, of course you won't ever see that, but Uncle Clifford is strategic in the way that he does things, and I think that's the reason why a lot of his flamboyance that comes across when he's coming up against these powerful people like the sheriff, like the mayor, is the reason why it goes down. Because if you peeped in the beginning, he didn't march down to the bank in the same get up in ways that he did when he approaches them. Because it's kind of like you said, it's like, I got something on you, you got something on me. So I'm going to come up in here, I'm going to cause a scene because people are going to be watching, they're going to be questioning. Yep. And the more talk is going to be bad for business. So don't play with me and I won't play with you.
Yep. That's right. So
I enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. I'll say this really quick and then we'll talk about we'll kind of wrap up and then prepare for next week. So far, for 5 episodes in the show, I think does again, I think it has really entertaining characters. I definitely totally agree with you. Ton of quotable material from this. So it makes good for social media and
don't
interaction
tell
on
me
that
it's
note.
Cornbread when I smell them biscuits burning, baby. Oh my God. And I think bless your thoughty little hearts.
The soundtrack is pretty good. I will say for original music, especially rap, I always cringe towards it. As Lauren quoted all the way down to the jailhouse. Lil Murda has a banger on here, so I'll give it for what it's worth. But yeah, the soundtrack's been pretty good, both original and just a compilation of other songs that's been released. And then the cinematography is really good. We talked about this before we got started, but I'll say it for the record of the show. I think that the usage of neon colors draw people into it as the SpongeBob effect for kids. When SpongeBob was really bright, that's why it was one of the most popular shows, because it just drew kids to it. I think that this show does really good in the cinematography with the usage of neon colors that provides a really aesthetically pleasing presentation for the viewers. And then when you add that with just the performances that are happening, it draws you in. So even if you have no clue what the show is happening with, or characters, or the storytelling or plot of any sort, I think there's still an entertainment factor for at least half the episode that you can watch. And like I said, these women are super talented. I've definitely been to some of the best strip clubs in America, and and it has been a while right now. But this is definitely
how many girls have you put through college?
0. Oh man,
I really, no, but you know what though? It's funny that you mentioned about the brightness of it with the neon and all the colors and everything. To me, the thing that grabs my attention is actually the mystique, the opposite. Whereas you have these silhouettes and shadows,
this
mysterious effect to it, and it makes you wonder. Because when I was watching it for the second time today, I was telling my best friends, I was like, when Mercedes was walking out of she walking out of the jail? I think she was. And that white light, as you saw her from the back, I was telling them, if you didn't see her feet, when I first started seeing the previews of this show, I thought that was like her walking onto the stage. Because when you're watching if you would have watched a preview of just like clips of the show, and you just would have saw that clip and that silhouette, you wouldn't know what was going on. And even with episode 4, when she's getting ready for her Floss funeral, as she called it. I've never heard that in my life. I'm going to ask some strippers I know if that's a real thing. Just the detail and the cinematography, like you mentioned, of them even getting her dressed. of them showing them getting ready from all of the ladies to even just her. I think everything is done strategically to not only show what the impact is going to be for that scene, but to also somewhat set the fantasy for what is going on, or what the fantasy that the character might have in their head of what's going on. Like when episode 2 with old boy and Autumn on the phone at the end, and he actually was envisioning her there with him. You know what I'm saying? Even to the ending of this episode. Well, not the ending, but part of this episode where you finally see Montavious Hill, but all you see is a profile, a shadow of a profile. You don't get into the actual details of his face. So that mystery is still there. Like, who is this guy? So that draws me in because it creates that suspense effect. So I want to see, that's what makes me want to see more.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, episode 6 will be next week. Legacy. The synopsis reads, and I mean, all throughout the pink, surprisingly, new bonds are formed as everyone fights to secure their bag and their future. Andre faces pushback on his deal with Warren Kyle brothers. So it's like we're just getting a little bit more of what happened this week and plays out. So a lot more character development with the core cast, but then also we're going to go back to the Kyle brothers because we've seen how the cause and effects of the businesses from the stakeholders on this side now. But what about the Kyle brothers and the land they're trying to secure and divvying in all that money between that? Kind of see, especially with secrets getting tossed out now. I kind of got to see how that kind of affects them. I'm not invested in the Kyle brothers story at all, so they got to come with it next week because, to be honest, that whole dynamic, it meant nothing to me so far. It's
That's
just
because you missed out. You missed out episode 3. That's why it don't mean nothing to you.
I mean, I get it. I get right there, and I get the whole family dynamic thing that's happening there, and I get everybody trying to get their share and their rights and a lot of that stuff. But it doesn't. I feel like it is the boring side of the story here. So I don't know. I just got to see what happens with it. I mean, that's definitely a moving piece along with Autumn and the mysterious guy that are kind of the ones that's just kind of just floating around there like, okay, what's going to happen there? But they got 2 more episodes to do it. Obviously, Uncle Clifford is working towards getting that alcohol deal to kind of save the club. And then the finale, who knows where it goes with that? So we'll see. We'll see. We'll be back next week for sure covering it. Anything else you want to make sure we touch on before we get out of here?
Even though it's not on this episode and it's leading into next episode, the reason why the Kyle brothers part of it matters is because they're actually being shorted money.
Right.
Which is what Kyle mentions to not only Andre, but to Uncle Clifford. And Uncle Clifford knows the business of the whole Kyle family.
True.
Because he was like, he told Corbin, and Corbin said to him, he's like, I can't believe you kept that secret all this time. So Uncle Clifford must have some insight to this whole family breakdown as to how Corbin was kept the you know what I'm saying, the not talked about child into all of this now is the one that's stopping the money.
Yeah.
But if there is one negative I would mention that I have to mention, it's the colorism aspect of it. I hate the colorism aspect of it where they always compare Autumn being so light-skinned to all the rest of the women. And I just think that's something that I wish they wouldn't have. But other than that, the show is phenomenal. Like, seriously. I hate that we're in COVID quarantine right now because I need them to be filming right now. Like, I don't know if they need to talk to Tyler Perry because I don't know if you heard. Listen, because Tyler Perry got it on lockdown.
Yeah.
With his studio, I need this now, right now. Like, it's not a joke, but I love the show. I wish I can't see. I mean, I can't wait for everything else they have coming forward. Yeah, and I hope more scenes this season.
Yeah.
I mean, more episodes.
Well, yeah, we'll be back next week. Like I said, this is our first review, so if you're looking for episodes 1 through 4 reviews, I'm sorry, but from 5 on to 8, we got you. And obviously a whole season review at the end of that. So, but yeah, thank you for listening and watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about episode 5. What are you looking forward to most? Who's your favorite characters? Who do you dislike the most? All that a good sort. And we'll be back next week.
Peace.